It's not just you or me or whoever. It's literally the entire fan base has had enough of Matt Nagy. They are out on him.
People were calling for Eric Bieniemy's head too. So you see, man, a couple years after that, now everybody's like, oh, I would take him back. So it's a what have you done for me now lately?
I'm guilty of that. I thought that they needed to move on from Eric Bieniemy for both parties. But now, in hindsight, you're looking at what Matt Nagy's done and how the offense used to look, and it's like, I would take Bieniemy back. I would take that chance.
Yes. Can we just shut Chamari Connor down? Can he just be done and be over with?
Forever.
I don't know if Spags is going to go for that, but
fans are obsessed with Jeremiyah Love. They want that running back early in the draft, and they think they could change the Chiefs.
I still think Mahomes is going to start. I still think he's on pace. He's already in the building. He's already working out. I just don't. I think he's going to be cleared to do everything by the time they get to camp.
Is he a generational talent? Is he a Bijan Robinson or a Saquon Barkley or an Ashton Gillotte? Is he one of those guys? Is he that level?
So you got to ask yourself, you really want to go out and get a position like a running back that Andy is not committed to using?
Or is he not? Because if he's not, I think you think twice about taking him in the top 10. If he is, then absolutely you want to go ahead and get in on that.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up, the podcast.
Chiefs Kingdom ACU crew, welcome back to All Chiefed Up, the #1 independent Chiefs channel on YouTube. It's Tuesday, December the 30th. Patrick Mahomes is in the building, but he didn't get on the plane. Andy confirmed that Mahomes won't travel to Vegas for this season finale. And with Travis Kelce's retirement rumors reaching a fever pitch, we have to ask, are we watching the final days of the greatest dynasty in NFL history? And can Chris Oladokun save face for the franchise in this game against the Raiders? Or they tank? What you thinking, Mike?
Man, I don't like the tank talk. I just don't like it. Again, I've said this before. I don't like competing, for a triple back-to-back championship. And then 1 year removed, we're talking about tanking. We're supposed to be happy we get a top 10 pick, or let's lose this game and get to number 9, number 11, number 10, like whatever it is.
Right.
I don't want to tank. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, I didn't want to tank versus the Broncos. I'd love to beat their ass last week. I don't want to tank versus the Raiders. I want to beat them this week. With Chris Oladokun as my starter, probably won't even happen, but I don't know how you couldn't beat this Raiders team, because they have pretty much just closed the doors, locked up the facilities, and they're rolling out the water boy to play quarterback versus us this week. So if we can't get a win this week, our roster needs a serious overhaul.
Brother, it might be a battle of who can suck the most to try to get that one better draft pick, which I think the Raiders have pretty much got the one locked up regardless. But the Chiefs, I mean, like you said, it's going to be between like 9 and 10 or 8 and 9, something like that. I don't think it matters enough. Like, I'd rather just beat the Raiders. And can we do it with Chris Oladokun? I don't know. I mean, like you said, they've kind of just hung it up for the year, but he only threw for 66 yards against Denver on Christmas. And everyone's talking like he's the greatest thing since Patrick Mahomes, and it's just not the reality of it. So I think it's going to be a weird game. It's kind of back to more of the same. Like, can we please see some of these young guys get in and get some reps and just see what we have with them? I want to see more Jalen Royals. I want to see Rashard Smith get some carries, just that kind of stuff,
Yeah, we seen Rashard Smith. We seen Jalen Royals for just a little bit the other day. We seen Jeffrey Bossa, 5 plays. Like, can we see these guys a little bit? Like, you need to be sitting guys like Drew Tranquill, guys like Mike Dana, all these dudes that are probably going to be gone in the offseason. Let's get their backups in. Let's get these rookies in. Let's get them moving. We've seen a lot more Noah Williams last week. I hope that continues on this week. Maybe we see another nice game from Fulton. He can build on that going into next season. There's a lot of things I definitely want to see. I'd like to see more Jaden Hicks this week. Can we just shut Chamari Connor down? Can he just be done and be over with?
Forever.
I don't know if Spags is going to go for that, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm not big with the tank talk. I would rather get the win. Like I said before, I said this just today, this morning when we're recording this. In 2013, we had the #1 pick. This is going to be the earliest pick we've had since 2013. And we took Eric Fisher that draft. And all I said was that I'm not dogging Eric Fisher. He was a fine player. But he wasn't as good of a player at the end of the career as Travis Kelce was, and we got him at number 63. So I don't think it's about where you draft is how you land your talent. It's about the team around you. It's about the evaluation. It's about taking the risk and going after a position of need and finding that person that can move and change the franchise going forward. And I don't think you always have to do that at round, at pick 7, 8, 9. We did that last year with Joshua Simmons, and we traded back to pick number 32, and we were still able to do that. So you can find these guys up and down the board. I would rather not lose to the Raiders.
Absolutely. And then kind of bleeding into the draft talk, man, fans are obsessed with Jeremiyah Love. They want that running back early in the draft, and they think that could change the Chiefs. Mike, we touch a little bit on Travis Kelce's retirement watch, right? That's one of the most viral topics in Chiefs Kingdom right now, is everyone talking about if Kelce's going to retire or not. And then, of course, you got Mahomes rehabbing his knee, and we don't know if he's going to start at the beginning of 2026 or not. So if they go out and were to get something like a Jeremiyah Love, do you think that he's going to be able to help carry that Chiefs offense early in the season until Mahomes is back? And if Kelce's not there to be kind of that leader in the locker room? Or how do you think that's all going to play out? And then also, while you're talking about that, do the Chiefs have to go out and grab a quarterback?
Right. So the Chiefs definitely, I think, need to look at a quarterback in the offseason, especially if Gardner Minshew is not going to be able to do that. Now, we didn't really get to see if he was going to be able to do that. He's been with the team this year, and I felt like Andy had confidence in him. So I feel like they'll just re-sign back Gardner Minshew and roll with him, Oladokin, and Mahomes next year.
I wanted some Minshew mania. He's always got the legendary stories. He's got the stash. He was living in a van down by the river or whatever. Like, we didn't get anything cool from Minshew, so I'm hoping maybe we can get a little bit of Minshew mania at the beginning of next season.
Right. I still think Mahomes is going to start. I still think he's on pace. He's already in the building. He's already working out. I just don't. I think he's going to be cleared to do everything by the time they get to camp. I really do. He's not going to play in the preseason, obviously. There's no reason. He may take a few snaps in the final preseason game, possibly, if he wants to go out and do it before he steps on the field. But I still think he'll be back week 1, so it's not that big of a deal. Going to Jeremiyah Love. Everybody is freaking out over Jeremiyah Love. I'm still on the fence here. I don't know if I want to spend a top 10 pick on a running back. I'm still not sold. There's two trains of thoughts. You take a guy early if he's special, if he's one of a kind. You've got your Bijan Robinsons, you've got your Saquon Barkleys, you've got stuff like that. But you also have like your Sony Michels. You also have your Clyde Edwards-Helaire's. You've got all those guys that mix in there. And it's rare that you're going to hit on a guy, that's going to come in and produce right off the bat.
Yep.
And you just don't know how that's going to work out. So it's like, this is a deep draft for running back. There's probably 10, 11, 12 guys that are probably top 100, top 125 players. I think the meat of this draft for running back is that second, third, fourth round. So you got to ask yourself, do you really want to go out and get a position like a running back that Andy is not committed to using and that may not pan out the way we think it is? Or do you want to go ahead and fix something immediate like a pass rusher, defensive line, maybe even a safety? Caleb Downs out of Ohio State's another name. Now, I think safety is another position you don't really want to overdraft on, but you can see what our defense looks like with a good safety and with a bad safety, such as Chamari Connor compared to Justin Reid.
Right. Well, that's two different types of guys right there, right? And they don't even play the same position. I think Chamari Connor got to go. But, I mean, you asked the two biggest questions, I think, from that entire Jeremiyah Love debate. And to me, you have to ask yourself, is he a generational talent? Is he a Bijan Robinson or a Saquon Barkley or an Ashton Gillotte? Is he one of those guys? Is he that level or is he not? Because if he's not, I think you think twice about taking him in the top 10. If he is, then absolutely, you want to go ahead and get in on that. Also, Andy, Mike, he shut down all the rumors of retirement today or yesterday and told everybody that he's going to be back as long as the Chiefs will have him. So at 67, he's still got something to play for, man. He's chasing George Halas on third for all-time wins list for coaches. And I think he kind of wants to be there, obviously, for Mahomes to come back and be there through Mahomes' career. So I think Andy's going to be around for the foreseeable future. And will Andy use a running back the way that people want, the way that something like a Jeremiyah Love, if he is that guy, it's going to garner? Do we get enough carries to make a running back worth a top 10 pick? There's just so much to that. It's a very loaded question whether you should take Jeremiyah Love in the top 10 or not. So I think it's very much up for debate. I think all of you guys that are listening should get in the comments and let us know what you think about that. I know a lot of people are huge fans of it, and there's some people that want to see us go defensive line right off the rip, man. And Mike, you were checking out a dude yesterday named Bane. How do you feel about getting someone in the top 10 as far as defensive line goes instead of running back?
I would prefer it. I do think defensive line is. I think an earlier pick. There's certain positions you want to really hit on when you get an early pick. A lot of people want to spend them on edge rushers, quarterbacks. Wide receivers have become that hot commodity because why? After 4 or 5 years, after you get that 5th-year option, they price you out. So I think every single season from here forward, we take a wide receiver at some point. Again, it's backup, it's insurance for the Rashee Rice, whether it be injury, suspension, or maybe you can't get a long-term deal. Maybe you want to move off Xavier Worthy after year 4. Like there's certain options. You may not have Juju back. There's a lot of different things. I think you got to look at wide receiver. I think there's a few guys out there at the number 8 spot, 9 spot, 10 spot. And again, Jeremiyah Love is going to be there. But you're going to have guys like Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. You're going to have guys like Mekhi Lemon out of USC, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. A lot of people like him. All these guys that I plan on getting to and watching extensive film on. But these are just names that are being thrown out right now as like top 10, possible top 10 picks. Right. So there's plenty of them. You talked about Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami. He's 6'3", 275. He's projected right now as a top 10 pick, probably the top defensive end in the entire draft. Well, when you actually watch some of his film, and I was able to watch 1 or 2 games of him, I've not got super extensive with him. He is a good player. I think he can be moved up and down the line. He's a stocky guy. He keeps his pads low. He's got pretty good explosiveness. I think his hands, his feet, everything's powerful. But the thing about it is I just don't know if he's got that burst, that pop to be that top 10 edge rusher talent, you know? And I'll say it like this. Could he be a Kayvon Thibodeau style? Possibly. Is he ever going to get to a Myles Garrett? No. And I know that's saying, hey, you're never going to find a Myles Garrett, but you do find these guys, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby. I don't think he'll ever get to that elite level, at least what I've seen so far now. I could watch something in the future that sees it, but I feel like this guy, and again, he's gonna go to the combine and they're going to pick on his arm length because his arms are sub 32. I'm pretty sure they're like 31. So he's going to have a lot of faults, and he doesn't wrap up very well. He struggles to tackle a lot. I think he has a 22% career missed tackle rate. So he's got obvious flaws. And the fact that this guy could be maybe the overall number 1 player on the big board for a lot of draft experts out here, it's kind of scary. It kind of just shows you how not deep this class is, at least for me at this point. I can't wait to start digging in and seeing if I can prove myself wrong. But from everything I've seen, all the limited college football I've watched, it just doesn't seem like a very good draft class. Running back is one of the stronger positions. So to take that super early with a Jeremiyah Love feels counterproductive. You almost need to take something else early because the running back will be there in the 2nd or 3rd rounds.
Yeah, I understand that logic there. And yeah, it's going to be fun to jump into this draft content because, you know, normally we're waiting until the end of February to start talking about draft, and we're getting a little bit of a head start. So I'll be doing that soon, but I think there's some intriguing guys out there. We've talked about Jeremiyah Love, and you've talked about Bain on the edge rusher there. But as far as like receivers and stuff, I've seen a little glimpse of a few. I think there's some fun options. But yeah, like I said, y'all get in the comments and let us know where your head's at as far as what the Chiefs need to be looking at in this draft with a potential top 10 pick, because it's been a long time since we've had that. Mike, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but y'all, let's talk about Andy Reid saying that he will be returning next year, shutting down all the rumors that he could go ahead and retire now. What do you think about it, Mike?
Well, he said what is the most Andy Reid type of thing to say. He actually said, I think I'm coming back. And then he said, if they'll have me back. I think that's vital, the if they'll have me back part. Maybe it's crossed his mind. And I know he said it in a joking manner. But doesn't it cross your mind if you're a head coach in the middle of a dynasty and you have had such a piss poor season? Does it cross your mind that maybe the guys above you could come for your head? I don't know if he's had that thought, but he did make the jab of if they'll have me back, as in, you know, I'll be back if they'll have me. It's a Clark Hunt decision. Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly the way it is. If he's not getting fired from Hunt, which I don't think he would, I don't think he steps away from the game.
The next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. We've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, which is the best place to bet those touchdowns. DraftKings has industry-leading live betting market availability, which feature dynamic odds that move with the game and more open live betting markets more often. So get in on the action and sign up using our promo code ACU right now. With DraftKings, the crown is yours. Yeah, I think Andy's going to be in there for another while, man. And that's the thing about it. I think Andy said that kind of tongue in cheek. He was pretty much just joking, right? Because I think he knows he's not getting fired. But I absolutely think it's crossed his mind that, like, hey, I've got to get this thing right. Because if I were to have 2 or 3 of these seasons in a row, that's going to be my walking papers. And that's how I'm going to be retiring. We talked about Travis Kelce maybe wanting to play one more year because this last season just wasn't really it. Is that really how you want to go out of the game? So maybe Andy Reid could be thinking that too. That's 2 very prolific guys in football history. Talking about Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. I don't think they want to go down like that. You know, like even if they walk into the sunset and they retire, I don't think you want to leave the game with a sour taste in your mouth. And that goes, you know, with Travis Kelce this season, I think maybe he could take one more stab at this thing. And then with Andy Reid, like, don't you want to turn it around and go out on a high note if you're planning on retiring soon? He's 67. So, I mean, maybe he is thinking about retirement in the near future. But right now, I think he's focused on correcting what's gone wrong with this team because you went from such a high mountaintop to the bottom of the barrel in a short amount of time. And I think that's a bit of a stain on Andy Reid's legacy if he were to just continue to fall and then just retire and walk away from it, right? Because then he's never going to hear the end of, you know, what I think is kind of true that Patrick Mahomes kind of solidified Andy's career as a head coach. He got him the rings and gave him the validation. But I think Andy wants to go out a little stronger than that. So I fully expect to see Andy around for a while. And I think he's going to have to make some moves here, man. And that can just kind of bleed us into another talking point. And that's what can Andy do as far as restructuring his coaching staff and changing his offensive scheme or anything like that to try to counteract, you know, just where this offense and team altogether has ended up to where we're at the bottom of the barrel here talking about tanking to the Raiders in the last week of the season and then getting into draft content.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I'm with you. I don't think Andy's going to step away down like this, but he cannot have another year. I would say if you have another year like this next year, or maybe even worse, like the conversation has to be had. Even Belichick without Brady, you see what he done in New England. There was not much to be spoken of after Tom Brady. He tried to, you know, get down into the college ranks. That hasn't went well for him. Sometimes these guys just fall off a little bit, and that happens with age. That's everything in life. It's natural. But I think that he is going to want to turn this around quickly, get back. I think Andy's capable. He's got to make some very tough decisions. I think it all starts with the coaching staff. We've talked about it till we're blue in the face. Nagy probably has to go. Connor Embry, Todd Pinkston, all these guys probably need to be moved on from. The thing is I don't know if Andy will do it. I don't know if he even sees it as important enough to do. I think that there is some stubbornness there with this organization, and something tells me that these guys all think that, hey, we're not that far away, and maybe if we didn't have this injury here, or this game would have went this way, or this game would have went this way, well, we had another Super Bowl team. And I don't know if that's true or not. I think that you've seen a lot of glaring problems with this team that Patrick Mahomes masks so much. And I think once you don't see Mahomes on the field for these past 2 weeks and going into this game versus the Raiders, it shows you how weak this roster is. Now, I know that you're still dealing with Trey Smith injuries and you're dealing with Jawan Taylor injuries, but people's trying to get rid of him anyway. So you've got all this across the board. Trent McDuffie, you name it. There's been a lot of big injuries. I get it. But it's not a very good team at the moment, especially when you take Patrick Mahomes off the field. This team barely competes with anybody.
Absolutely. They have to get some big-time pieces. And like I've said, I think they need to look into getting some proven guys. I think that Brett Veach really has to step his game up in free agency. as opposed to just hitting in the draft like he's been doing. And, and that's up for debate. A lot of people think that his draft picks haven't been all that great, but I think he's done a pretty good job. It's just he hasn't had the other recipe of the secret sauce there, and that's signing good free agents that can come in here and contribute as opposed to just eat up a bunch of cap space and either not play or perform under par. He's got to get some guys that can come in and help this team right off the rip. But Mike, let's talk about Matt Nagy, the most popular guy in Kansas City right now. So everyone wants him gone. It's not just you or me or whoever. It's literally the entire fan base has had enough of Matt Nagy. They are out on him. They have figured it out that he is the reason that this offense is so bad. But, there's a big piece of evidence out there that says that Matt Nagy might not be back, Mike. And I think that would make a lot of people happy. But he declined a contract extension this past offseason, right? And normally coaches are rarely going to decline an extension unless they, intend on testing the market, or maybe he even has a lead on a head coaching gig. Because the Tennessee Titans, there's a connection. We've talked about this before. But Bergonzi's over there. He spent years in the Chiefs front office with Matt Nagy. And that job's open. Do you think that maybe that Matt Nagy is planning on trying to slide into that Tennessee Titans job? And do you think this could make it easier for the Chiefs in general, where they don't have to fire Matt? Like Andy doesn't have to fire a guy that he's been with forever and a day. Maybe he just walks away.
I don't think he would fire Nagy if it come down to it. If Nagy was still under contract, I don't think he would fire him. I just don't. But does Nagy probably walk away at the end of this year? I would say probably so. I think he feels the heat from the outside. I think maybe even himself, he sees that it's just not been as successful. Maybe for him, it's not even been as fun as he thought it would be. It's tough when you're not winning. It's tough when you're not moving the ball. Again, people, Eric Bieniemy's on a pedestal, but times change. There was, when the Tyreek Hill thing happened at the end of the Bengals game, the AFC Championship, we got beat there by Burrow. People were calling for Eric Bieniemy's head too. So you see, man, a couple years after that, now everybody's like, "Oh, I would take him back." So it's a "what have you done for me now lately?"
I'm guilty of that. I thought that they needed to move on from Eric Bieniemy for both parties. I thought the Chiefs could use some refreshing, especially with, kind of the spats between him and Hill and him and Mahomes. And you kind of saw the team kind of fall apart a few times because of those conversations. So you thought maybe Eric Bieniemy was just being a little overly aggressive, and it was just kind of disrupting the locker room a little bit. So that was a thought, right? But now, in hindsight, you're looking at what Matt Nagy's done and how the offense used to look, and it's like, I would take Bieniemy back. I would take that chance.
I think a lot of people want to see it just to see if Andy's at fault or is it really Nagy. And I just don't know if Chief fans are ever going to admit to themselves that if, say, for example, Kafka or Kafka or Eric Bieniemy or any of those guys come back and the offense is still struggling, I don't know if anybody writes Matt Nagy an apology letter. I think they're always, it's never going to change. It's one thing I've noticed with this fan base. Once they get an idea of who you are, who they think you are, it's tough to come back from. It's very tough. Yeah. We've seen it with several players. We've seen it with coaches. We've seen it with front office.
Yeah.
You name it.
Matt Nagy's a perfect example, right? Because, if you look from outside of a Chiefs lens, the rest of the league actually thinks highly of Matt Nagy.
Unless you're a Bears fan.
Well, even the Bears, that's the thing. The narrative's kind of flip-flopped on that because, even insiders like Rappaport, Palacero, some of those guys, they now view Nagy's, I think it was 34-31 record is what he had with the Bears. And they actually put that in a positive light now. They think it's impressive in hindsight with all the Bears struggles and all that organization struggles that he was able to have a winning record. So,
come on now. Ben Johnson comes in and does this his first year. Now I get it.
That's two totally different situations, right?
Yeah, he don't have Caleb Williams as a as a rookie or whatever.
But I'm just saying, from outside of Chiefs Kingdom, people have a more positive view of Matt Nagy. And I think that if he doesn't get a head coaching job, which I think the most likely one would be Tennessee because of the Bergonzi factor, But if he doesn't get one, I think that he'll probably end up calling plays somewhere else. I do not think Matt Nagy will be here next season.
I don't think he will either, but I'm going to go the opposite of you. I think if he doesn't get the head coaching job, which I don't think Borgonzi will give it to him, I just don't think there's enough there for me to give it to him. I think there's better options. I think that actually Matt Nagy will do something different next year. I don't think it'll be in a lower position than an OC, in my opinion.
You think
I believe because of what he's done, you can't tell me that I want you to come over to my team and I think you can turn my team and my offense around when you had Patrick Mahomes and couldn't do it.
Right.
To me, that doesn't scream a lot of faith.
That's the thing about it too, though, right? Because we've had this conversation a lot, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. It's not just Matt Nagy why that offense wasn't successful. It's not just Nagy. There's no possible way. There are so many different things going bad for that offense to be that just stagnant and not what it should have been with the talent that it had. So I would think from like Bergonzi's perspective, like, do you really think that he thinks that's all Matt Nagy's fault? Like, I'm sure he might think a million different things. He might still think Nagy's a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think a lot of people think a lot of things. I think fans, especially Chiefs fans, like I said, I think they're really hard on Matt Nagy. Do I think he should go? Absolutely. I think there needs to be a change here. But I think it needs to go a little further than what we're even going to see, because it doesn't matter what we do. It's still going to have Andy's thumb all over it. It's still going to be it's going to be 98% Andy Reid like it is now. But that 2% that Matt Nagy gets hit with is just the end all be all with everybody. And it's like, the only way you're going to see if this is truly a Matt Nagy thing is if you bring back Eric Bieniemy. If you bring back Eric Bieniemy and the offense goes right back to its 2018 form, then you can live off that, hey, it was Nagy kind of thing. But if not, and it still struggles because Andy is refusing to adapt, but maybe that's what Bieniemy can bring. He brings a running back mentality. He can work with running backs, and maybe he can convince them to have more of a run game and beat this cover two shell.
Right. Let's take it more in that direction. While we're talking about Matt Nagy maybe being on the outs, let's talk about the return of Eric Bieniemy, y'all. If he were to return to this team, do you think that's the best possible scenario for the Chiefs if Matt Nagy leaves? Or do you think some of these other options out there, because also some hot names are Mike Kafka, if the New York Giants decide to clean house. Brian Daboll's been floating around. Mike, you've even heard John Gruden. You got the Dolphins over there who don't know what they're going to do with Mike McDaniel yet. A lot of people want to see the Chiefs make a play for a Cliff Kingsbury. What do you think is the best option for the Chiefs going forward if Matt Nagy is not the OC next year?
If you stay, I mean, we talked about this 1,000 times. If you stay within the Andy Reid tree, I would rather have Bieniemy than anybody else. If for anything, I just want to disprove or prove the Nagy theories. And then on top of that, if you go outside, I'd love to see a Mike McDaniel, but I just don't know if we would hire that. I don't know if Andy Reid would allow it. At the end of the day, we're probably going to see Nagy step away, and they're going to do something stupid like bring up Connor Embry as offensive coordinator or Joe Blameyer or something like that. Like, it's going to be something that I think a lot of fans will not like at the end of the day. Because Andy is not in the business of pleasing fans, in my opinion.
That's true.
If so, he would have done a lot of things differently this year. You'd have seen a lot more Brashard Smith earlier. You'd have seen Jalen Royals earlier. You've just seen a lot of different things.
I'm not saying that you tiptoed around the question, but you kind of tiptoed around the question here. If they were to go outside and they were to be able to get any of these guys, what do you think is the best possible scenario? Do you think it would be Mike McDaniel because he's got that Shanahan-type blood in his veins where he can run that West Coast offense but bring a twist to it that maybe Andy Reid has, gotten behind on? Or do you think maybe they should try to go get like a Cliff Kingsbury because he's got that old connection with Mahomes that can maybe get him back to those gunslinging days? Is there a certain guy in your heart that you hope they go back to or go to, or could just go back to Eric Bieniemy, or do you think it doesn't? Do you think it doesn't really play that much of a factor? You think as long as it's not Matt Nagy?
I think Andy Reid's got too much, again, of his thumb on the offense for it to really matter. That's why I don't think he will go pursue an outside source like a Mike McDaniel or a Cliff Kingsbury. I just don't think he'll do it. But
what would you prefer?
people have mentioned a lot of things. The passing coordinator for the Rams has been brought up a few times. I mean, I would be fine with that. I would like to have some new blood that's younger, that's got a fresh perspective, almost the same way like the Liam Cohen effect took Tampa Bay's offense and moved it in the right direction. It's now working in Jacksonville. Younger guys with newer philosophies that have been around. Like I would have looked into Charlie Weiss Jr. Coming out of Ole Miss, but now he's followed Kiffin down to LSU. But he runs a heck of an offense at Ole Miss, a spread offense, a crazy offense. It's got modern stuff to it. We've got a link to Charlie Weiss. Okay, he's coached in Kansas City before. He's also got a link to the Parcells and the Belichick coaching line. I would have done that, but we couldn't do that because we stuck around with Nagy too long. Whereas if we just would have chopped Nagy coming into this year, you may have been able to poach a young guy like a Charlie Weiss out of Ole Miss. But now you're not going to be able to. And so I feel like you've got to look at what you've got in-house first, and I think that's what they'll do. And I don't like any of the names here. I don't like Girardi to do it. I don't like Blameyer to do it. I definitely don't want Pinkston or Connor Embry to do it. So you have to look outside. And for me, I really do think Eric Bieniemy would be my number one. I would much rather have him. Maybe Brian Daboll could be right there, but I would rather have him over Doug Peterson and Kafka.
Okay. I'm kind of on the same page as you. I'm kind of right there with you. I think there's got to be some fresh blood in here to really change things up. But will Andy go that route? Not likely.
Well, EB's not really fresh blood, though.
Yeah, I'm talking about, you kind of said you would like to see some fresh blood and stuff like that. But yeah, getting Bieniemy back, I think, is obviously the best option if you're going to stay in the Andy Reid coaching tree. And that's just because, the team kind of lost their edge when Bieniemy left, right? And that could have been a million different things, but that's when you kind of saw this team kind of lose that competitive edge. They didn't seem as fired up. They didn't I don't know. Something's just missing since then, and maybe it could have been him. And like you said, you won't know unless you go back to it and see if that magic's still there or not. But Mike, let's talk about Travis Kelce for just a second. We've talked about him maybe retiring this offseason. And let's just say either he does or Nate Taylor has said that he's heard that Clark Huntham's trying to get him to play one more year. So let's just say either he does retire or he plays the one more season. The Chiefs still have to have a plan in place for tight end. One of the things that really stuck with me that you've kind of said throughout this entire debacle that is the 2025 season, Mike, was you mentioned that this offense was built and molded for Travis Kelce the minute that Tyreek Hill was gone. And now Travis Kelce's 37 years old. He's not what he used to be. And here we are. So thinking that, don't the Chiefs really need to worry about who they have there when Travis is gone, regardless if he's gone this season or next? So I think the two big targets that people are really talking about, Mike, is number one, you either go all in on the Sadiq sweepstakes, right? And try to get him in the draft. A top 10 draft pick for a tight end is wild. But maybe not. Maybe that's what you need to do to get this offense moving. The other option, Mike, is something that I've mentioned a few times and a lot of other people, and that's you could go out in free agency and try to get it on Kyle Pitts. He is going to be an unrestricted free agent come March, and it's a realistic possibility. However, it's going to be a very, very expensive one because it's going to be one of the most competitive signings of the 2026 offseason, in my opinion. So I think you're looking at him maybe getting, his market value is probably somewhere around 4 years, $60 million, $15 million a year. That's probably, I don't know right off the top of my head, but I feel like that's more than Kelce ever made, right? But what do you think? Do you think they go draft for tight end? Do you think they try to go ahead and replace him with like a Kyle Pitts that could seamlessly come into this offense and probably succeed? Because I do think that the tight end position is very, very important for this organization.
Yeah, you're going to hear me say this probably throughout the draft, but if the Chiefs end up landing a top 10 pick, if there is no edge rushers that can get up into that category of being a top 10, can't miss. I mean, I'm wanting a guy off the edge. Yeah, I'm wanting a guy off the edge that can disrupt. And if they can't do it, I'm going to want to trade back. In my opinion, having, say, pick number 10 and moving back to, say, pick 13 or 14 and picking up a Kenyon Sadiq is a lot better option than staying at pick number 10 and drafting a running back. And I know a lot of people's going to say, no way. Jeremiyah Love is a generational talent. He's this, he's that. He can change the offense. Again, you said it, I've said it. This is always going to be a pass-first team. You need somebody that can give you Travis Kelce plus. That is not available in free agency. Noah Gray is not there. Jared Wiley's not going to do it. Brenningstool, I have no faith that a undrafted free agent is going to turn into something crazy. That's just hope. You can't build rosters and build franchises and dynasties in this NFL world. You cannot do it based on hope. You can't do it. So when you go look at the free agency market, like you said, you've got Njoku out there at $11 million per year. He's already 30 years old. Like, I like Njoku. I ain't paying him $11 million a year. Tyler Higbee, too old. Kyle Pitts, as you said, he's probably going to want to get $15 to $17 million per season. That is crazy. So for me, there's not a lot of options out there for the tight end market. And that's where I would say, look, let's get the best tight end in the draft. Let's not have a debacle where we keep passing these tight ends up year in and year out, and these guys just keep hitting over and over and over. I'm going to look at Kenyon Sadiq. I'm going to see if he can do everything I need him to do, and I'm pretty sure he can do that at 6'3", 245. He is a top 20. He's a move tight end. This dude can get out and play. I've watched him play at Oregon. Oregon's one of the only games I've watched a few games of this year because I don't even know why. I guess they joined the Big Ten, so they're constantly on our TV. But I've seen more Oregon games this year than almost any other team. Kenyon Sadiq is impressive. And so I know Andy's going to use a tight end. I know he's going to pass the ball with Mahomes. I don't know that Andy's going to run the ball 15 to 20 times with a guy like Jeremiyah Love. Now, if I had that in the tank, if you got a Ferrari, you drive it. But Andy is so stubborn, I do not know. Now, if Bieniemy comes in, that could be a very sneaky good pick with Jeremiyah Love if he can convince him to continue to run the ball.
Right. Well, that's kind of where I'm at, Mike. I'm about, getting your cake and eating it too right now. Because I feel like I'm more on the side of the fence where it's like, hey, let's Brett Veach a contract together. And I know it's going to be a little expensive, but how can we make it work to get Kyle Pitts to the Chiefs? Because I think Kyle Pitts has proven, and we've seen enough of him to know that he's a damn good tight end. The guy's only 25 years old. He's 6'6", 245 pounds, and runs a 4.4. He's essentially a younger, faster version of the player that Andy Reid built his entire offense around for a decade. And why the hell not bring a proven guy over that can keep this offense a ticking or get it back to maybe where it was? Just something for Mahomes. I feel like if Mahomes and Pitts could even reach 80% of the magic that Kelce and Mahomes had together, you're right back to being just competitive right off the rip, right? And then, hey, if you want to take a shot on a Jeremiyah Love in the top 10, then you go right ahead and do that. Because like you said, if you bring Eric Bieniemy back, could be a sneaky good pick. And then all of a sudden your offense looks completely different from last season. Now, you still have to worry about the defense, obviously, but I understand there's a lot of hurdles to jump to get a Kyle Pitts in here. We have our salary cap's kind of crap right now, but obviously there's going to be some things that go into play here soon that opens up a big bunch of that. And I think there's a lot more moves that we haven't even discussed where Brett Veach could clear up some more money. And I absolutely think that Pitts would be worth it if they could figure out how to make it work. I really do. Now, depending on how far that goes up, with negotiations with other teams or, the sweepstakes for Kyle Pitts, because I do know I've heard rumors that the Titans and the Commanders are heavily in on Pitts too. And let's just say Matt Nagy takes that coaching job and goes, over to the Tennessee Titans. Maybe he wants Pitts to be that Kelce for him and be a corner piece for him. So, I mean, they could bid on him. And then, of course, the Commanders are always looking for new weapons, too. They have a young quarterback that didn't have the greatest sophomore season. So, I don't know, man. It could be tough, but that's where I think I would kind of focus. Obviously, I'm not a GM. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. But to me, I don't know, something feels right about the Chiefs getting a dominant tight end, especially a 25-year-old.
Look, you named it. The Titans, they have got a guy on there that I actually like that's getting ready to hit the free agency market. And I think he could work well within this offense. I liked him coming out in the 2022 draft. He come out of Maryland. He was fast. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world. He's only, I want to say 6'3", 240-ish. But he plays with the Titans, and I thought he's fast enough to do what we like to do, and I think he can almost play like an H-back if you need him to do it. That's Chigakwonkwo. I'll say it right. Okonkwo.
Say that one more time.
Say that as much as you can.
I can't say it once.
Okay. Yeah,
I can't even say it once. Say it one more time. I know a Titans fan, and I think they just call him Chiggy.
Yeah, okay, so Chiggy, this is the dude, like, I liked him out of Maryland. I thought he was good at what he did. He's a speedster. Like, there's everything about this guy. And I feel like if you want a guy that can come in and stretch the field and do something there, you've got a shot at maybe signing him. And then if Kelce comes back, I like this guy to be like a third or fourth tight end. If Kelce doesn't come back, then you have to have probably, in my opinion, you've got to upgrade it. You've got to go more to the Kyle Pitts. But I think if Kelce comes back, you could maybe get Chig, and then you could probably draft, like I said, Kenyon Sadiq, or maybe hit another one at the top of the second or third round.
Try to have that stepping stone there with Kelce for one more year. I'm absolutely with you. I think if you're going to go that route to try to get Sadiq or one of these younger guys that you think have a lot of upside, I think it's absolutely only if Kelce plays one more season. I think if Kelce up and says he's retiring here in a couple months, I think you got to go out and try to make a play for Pitts.
Yeah, I think there's two levels there. Okay, look, so you're not going to be able to sign Breece Hall and you're not going to be able to sign Kyle Pitts together. You could maybe sign one of the two, but the rest of your guys that build your roster at the bottom, when you sign those two guys, you are now weakening the bottom part of your roster to the point where you're going to end up with a lot of UDFAs. Like, you just are. There's no way around it. You're not going to be able to sign a lot of these guys. You're going to get guys on 1 year. You're going to have more Jack Cochran's back. You know what I'm trying to say? That's
right.
What you're going to have. So you've got to pick it right. So I'm just saying, if Kelce comes back, you maybe want to take the young route. You want to draft one. Maybe you take the Kenyon Sadiq. Maybe you take a guy like Max Clare in day 2 out of Ohio State. Maybe you take Eli Stowers out of Vandy. You've got Terrence Carter out of Texas Tech. You've got all these guys you can take 2, 3, early 4. So you let Kelce build, you let Jared Wiley stay another year. He's under contract, obviously. You let Britting Stool see what you got there. But like I said, if Kelce steps away and you're really down to just Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Britting Stool, you might need to do something a little more drastic. That might mean you may have to take the Kenyon Sadiq. You may have to go pay the big money for Kyle Pitts. Whereas the running back, I don't feel like in any scenario you are forced to pay the big money. I really don't. I think You could get a Tyler Algier. You can get somebody like that, and I believe they come in and do well. We've yet to see Dameon Pierce. This dude can look really good and maybe be this year's Tyquan Thornton going into next year.
Do you think that's why a lot of Chiefs Kingdom just would like to draft Jeremiyah Love? Like, hey, if he's a beast, that's 5 years, you know? Like, and we don't have to pay him. You know, I don't know, maybe if that could be a factor instead of going out and paying for a Breece Hall or something like that.
It is. I would prefer Jeremiyah Love, I think, over a Breece Hall, honestly. The only downfall to that is that you have to take him so high. But if he hits, he hits. I mean, there's plenty of statistics where guys are hitting throughout the draft. I mean, you've seen Bijan Robinson hit. You see Saquon Barkley hit. But you had to watch. Saquon Barkley battled a lot of early injuries. So that's just what you get with running backs. They get beat up. He's been used a lot in Notre Dame. Like, he doesn't, I mean, he's probably still got a lot of tread, but they've knocked a lot of tread off of him. But we heard that also with Jonathan Taylor, too, and you see what he's done. So you can't really, you just don't have any gauge of what you're going to do. I think running back is just a position I just don't feel like the Chiefs want to spend a lot of money on. So I don't think it's going to be Breece Hall. I think you will see an early drafted one, or I think you're going to go to the Tyler Algiers of the world.
Right. Well, I just think in general, like I've been saying it, Mike, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick to my guns. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't understand, how the salary cap thing's going to work or this or that, or I guess the implications down the road. But like, I'm just a strong advocate for, I think we really have to take advantage of free agency this season. I love the draft, obviously, and we want to draft well, and we want to have all those young guys. But I just really feel like, hey, how can we free up some money here? We're not in a good cap space, but like, okay, Jawan Taylor walks, you save some money. Patrick Mahomes restructures, you save some money. Chris Jones restructures, you save some money. Let's just say Kelce retires, you don't have to sign him back. There's a lot of different ways that you could probably save some money. I mean, if you wanted to, you could cut ties with some guys or whatever.
Right. You got
like,
Dana. You've got a lot of guys
right.
like that.
And my thing is like a lot of people are like, oh, we got to burn this to the ground and rebuild it from the ground up. And like when I look at this roster, even this season, as much of a disappointment as it was, you mentioned earlier, every game was a 1-score game. And I don't feel like that you have to burn it to the ground and rebuild it from the bottom up. I don't think it's a rebuild. I really feel like you could probably plug, let's say 2 to 3 really good players in, and then maybe hit on like a guy or two in the draft that you can use right off the rip. And all of a sudden, it's just a totally different ball game. So, like, to me, can you free up enough money to where you could be a player in just 2 big names in free agency? If you were to go out and get Kyle Pitts, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, this is exciting. What's Patrick Mahomes and Kyle Pitts going to be like together? Is that going to be even close to what him and Kelce were at one time? And then let's just say we need somebody to help rush the passer. Boye Mafe, they tried to get him before the season ended. They tried to trade before the trade deadline. And he's going to be a free agent at the end of this season. And he's been a rising star over there in Seattle. So would it be possible to be a player in just 2 big free agents that can take care of 2 glaring problems and then see what happens in the draft? Is that unreasonable? Like, is that, just me daydreaming, or is that something that you think could happen?
It depends on how much money they can free up, and you got to remember, the more money you free up. So if you're getting rid of Drew Tranquil, if you're getting rid of Mike Dana, if you're getting rid of all these guys,
you got to plug more holes. But
you've got more holes to plug.
And I think we absolutely have to sign back Leo too. So that's something to consider.
Right, you've got to spend money on Leo. I'm almost positive they're going to spend money on Brian Cook. I think that they'll do it. I think
you can get a good deal with Cook. I think you can get a good deal with him too. I think it'd be worth it.
I've said this time and time again. I'm going to continue to say it. We've got to work the draft boards better and not just going up to get our guy. We have to start trying to move back and acquiring more picks. I think that's one thing Brett Veach has never done well, is to move back
and
acquire
route, right?
more. Yes, he's good at going up and losing and getting a good player that he was, but he's not very good at working himself back. He's not patient enough to do that. And the Patriots dynasty was built off that. It was built on patience. It was built off moving back and acquiring more. And the way you're describing it is you think we're close, so you think it's more profitable to go out and spend some money to get a couple holes to plug and win now rather than to draft and develop for 2 to 3 years down the road.
It's not even that. I think that the guys that I'm talking about are young. Like you're looking at 25-year-old Kyle Pitts. You're looking at, say, 27-year-old Boye Mafe. Like, these are guys that could be with the team for 4 or 5 years, and you're still building through the draft.
Pay for 4 or 5 years.
Understood. I get that. And there's a lot goes
and
into
a lot
that,
of Chiefs Kingdom is under this assumption, because we've seen it happen, that you can just always manipulate the contract. But we've also seen this blow up in Brett Veach. Not a lot of guys want to sign if there's not a lot of incentives on it. They don't want to just sign all these contracts that are backloaded.
Right. We have to have
they
good
know
contracts.
Right. They know that's a way for teams to get out.
I think we got to quit being a little bit cheap, man. We got to start paying these guys up front a lot. I think we got to give big signing bonuses. I think we got to really figure that out. A lot of guaranteed money as well.
I think you can afford 1 big free agent. I don't think you're going to get 2.
Can't squeeze 2 out of there?
I think because you see this every year. Last year, our big free agent was literally the tackle, Jalen Moore.
And Jalen Moore,
yeah, Christian Fulton. Yeah, they were both about middle tier. Those guys are making nothing what you're getting ready to pay a Breece Hall or any of those guys you've been saying. So you're going to pay out the wazoo for those dudes. I don't know if you can even get one of them. Like, the way I see it is you've got elite, you've got great, you've got good, you've got serviceable, you've got literally like roster fillers. The Chiefs may be able to pick one out of the second, third tier, and then one out of the third or fourth tier. I don't think there's any way you're getting one out of that very, very top tier and another one. I just don't.
I mean, think about this for a second, though, and this is just to put it into perspective. We're talking about Kyle Pitts being a $15 million a year guy. They paid Christian Fulton $10 million.
That's true, but we've also talked about Kyle Pitts. He's had one good year, and I get it. He's been in Atlanta with not a lot around him, but he's been a bust to this point. And off one good season, you're going to go pay $45 million for 3 years. You're going to pay $60 million for 4 years. And like you just said, you're going to have to pay him a crap ton up front because there's going to be some desperate teams out there with a lot of cap.
I agree,
I don't know
but
if you can do that.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't see how in the world that guy couldn't reach his max potential with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, especially in an offense that's been built around a tight end. It's made for him.
This is what Veach would ask himself and his coaches around him. Is it more beneficial to this team going forward to get we'll say 4 year, $70 million deal for Kyle Pitts? Or is it more beneficial? Is he going to add that much more? Or is it more beneficial to say, look, we could trade back. We could take Kid Johnson-Deek. We got him for 5 years at a very reasonable contract, and he may develop into a Kelce long term.
Right.
I think that's where
that's the
you
risk
draw the
you
line
take,
there.
right? That's the risk you take. And like with me, I think we're in a position where we've done this a lot. And I think it's at this point, it's like, hey, this dude is good. We know this. We already know. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it.
The NFL revolves around tight ends, but I do think it is fading out. You're not seeing the days of the Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Gronk, like all the big tight ends every week in, week out. Those were your fantasy players. Those were
everything. It has changed.
You're not
seeing
seeing that as much. It's because they're too high. It really is. That has changed football, and it's all because of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So we've got to adapt to that. So it may be more beneficial to get a running back that can now hold these two safeties accountable. Maybe they got to slip back into playing a single safety, and maybe you don't. So I would think maybe you come more paying the running back then and drafted the tight end. I don't know. I really don't. Brett Veach has got a tough. Andy Reid too, man. Tough, They've got a tough little rebuild coming.
Yeah, I agree. You guys get down in the comments. Let us know what you think about the entire thing. Would you like to see them draft a Sadiq or sign a Kyle Pitts? Do you want Jeremiyah Love? Do you want a first round running back, a top 10 running back? Do you think that would be beneficial for the team? If you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this out with a friend. And we'll catch you guys next time. Go Chiefs.